Okay, so we're going to talk about creating web forms. A web form is a page you've seen on every website you've ever been to. A lot of contact forms are web forms, right? Because it's a piece of content that says something, and then it asks you, the user, to fill in certain information. Now, web forms can be used for tons of different things. Maybe it is a contact, or maybe it's a registration for something, or maybe it's for them to get services from you. You can create it for a number of different reasons. And this one I'm using because it is already on the site. But I want to show you some things. So first, there has to be a piece of content, right? This one is a basic page content. And if you click edit on this, right, as you're in admin, editing is going to be editing this piece of content. So you could say anything you want. You could edit it like a basic piece of content, add pictures, add links. It doesn't matter. It's a straight piece of content that you're creating. It's when you click this little web form that you add the web form portion to it. And as you can see, we have standard stuff here. What's your name? What's your phone number? What's your email? The little red indicates it's required and you don't have to require it. I have created some options, right? So if on your web form you don't need just the basic question or comment area and you want them to be able to pick something, let's say that you want a web form for some services and you want to say what kind of services you're looking for. Build outs, new parts, general information. You can create a list of things they can just click and get quickly to what they need to do. And then you have your little submit button. So I'm going to show you the web form that's already created, and then we're going to talk about a couple different fields that we can create. So you click the web form portion on any piece of edit that has the, or any piece of content that has that, and you'll see what the label is, right? This gets auto created for you, so you don't have to worry about that. This is the type of content. So you see I've used text fields, text area, select options, and email. All right, so what else can we do here? We can add something. I'll do this and then we'll delete it. Please upload your images. Now, let's pretend, excuse me, I'm going to write this correctly. Let's pretend that you have a spot on your website and you want your customers to send you pictures of their vehicles, right? Maybe the things they've done based on what you've given them. So I'm going to give them the label, and for this we're going to have them upload a file, right? We're not going to have a date, an email, a layout box, all of this stuff. Select breaking the page, the time. We can do all kinds of stuff, right? So if you maybe were going to have them select a day they wanted to be at an event, we'd put the date field in. We're going to do the file field. I'm going to make this file field mandatory, right? And I don't have to. I'm going to erase this when we're done, and I'm going to hit add. Once you hit add, it's going to ask you some more information. So it's going to show you, again, the label you made. It already created the field key, right? Don't mess with your field key. This is a URL, and it knows what it's doing. If you want to give them more description, right, this just maybe isn't enough, or maybe it's just a little confusing, you can say load up to 5 images that you'd like to see on our site. And it can be up to you, right? They can load as many as they want to. This is public files for the upload destination. This will be okay. You don't have to mess with that. No renaming of the files. But when you come down here, it's asking you, hey, what kind of files can they upload? Right? So if it was an image, then you want to say, well, we're going to let them do a GIF, a JPEG, or a PNG. Or maybe you're not going to let them do a GIF, right? Maybe you're just going to let them do a JPEG or a PNG. Now, if what I was asking them to do was upload a document, something they had taken a picture, or not a picture, a PDF of. So maybe if you're a manufacturer and you want them to upload their business license, well, these are not web images. These would be documents, right? So I might tell them they can upload a text or a PDF or a doc, right? So it can let them upload whatever they want. But if it's not checked here and they try to upload, a docs document, it will say you can't, right? And it will explain to them which ones they can upload, right? So we'll go ahead and take that off of there. Come on down. We don't have to move any of this stuff around. Nope, you're good. So now we're just going to save the component. And now it says please upload your files. So let me show you what that looks like on our web form. So now I have a spot where they can choose the file and they can upload it. So bingo bango, right? So once you're done with creating your web forms, and understand this big block where it's questions or comments, that's a text area, gives them lots of room to write. These are text fields. These are option sets, right? Let's go through and let's make another option set real quick in case you want to give them choices. So what type of vehicle do you own? If I could type, it'd be great. This one, again, let's do a select option so I can walk you through. All right, so again, we can say, tell us more about your ride. We can make it to where they have multiple options to choose from, right? So we can click that and they can click a lot, or if it's something we just want them to answer one and they have to pick one, then you leave this unchecked. So we can say, I own a Wrangler JK, I own a Wrangler YJ, and on, right? When you see that I put the one, it doesn't have to be one. It could be anything, ABC with the little pipe. The pipe is what you're going to find on your keyboard right above your enter key. There should be a backspace, not a backspace. There should be a, not a forward slash, a backslash. And then above that, when you hit shift, you should see a little up and down arrow, and that's your pipe. But you have to separate, right? So it talks to you about here, whatever that safe key is, you have to separate them out. So let's just go ahead and stick with this right here. You can make this required on this page as well. You could do a list box, because it's going to show up as those little bubbles, right, that you're going to click. If you say list box, it's going to be a drop down. Now, you might want to use a drop down box because you've got a lot of choices. So you could do a pre-built option list of days of the week, countries, United States. So these would be big, huge lists, and you probably would want a list box instead of the little bullet, little spots right there where they can just click. So we're going to go ahead and not build that, and we can make it required again on this side. We're saying the label is above the display. You can not have the label above, and I'm going to show you what above means. You can have it inline, or you have no label at all. Why you would have no label at all, I'm not sure, because they won't understand. But let's save this component, and let's go back over and see how that shows up. So here you see the label, and then in the description, when I said tell us more about your ride, right? So that's where that shows up. And then I can just click this, and I can click that, because I gave them multiple choices, right? All right, so let's go back up to your web form. Once you have all of these here and you've built them, you can go in and rearrange them. So if you don't want any of these first. You can make this first. You can make this last. You can just drag and drop these to make sure they show up the way you want them. Is maybe you wrote them all up and then you wanted something else, and you don't want it to be at the bottom, you want it to be within the content. So it will tell you that anything you've done doesn't get done until you hit this little save button, right? Which I'm not going to save at the moment. I'm going to go back in and delete these anyway. But once you save them, then they'll be done. Now we're not done yet, right? You've created the web form, but at the moment they don't have a way. The website doesn't know who to send this web form information to. So up here in these little tabs up here, you're on form components. So we're going to go to emails, right? And this one is currently being sent to me. But if you're creating a new email, a new web form, you're going to want to send it, again, this has to be created each time. So you're going to put in the email address that's going to get that contact information or that registration information or whatever you're going to do. You're going to put that in here and you're going to hit add. And once you've done that, so I'm going to put in info at completewebsold.com, so I can show you. It brings you up some fields after you've first done this, and these fields are kind of important because it's going to ask you some information. This, let it stay, right? But these down here, these are important. It's going to say, how do you want this email to come over to you? Well, by default, it's going to be the title of your web form, right? But you don't have to have it. So it can say in the header a custom component, right? You can say whatever you want to so that when you're getting the email, it says this is coming over from blah, blah, blah. Or you can use one of the components on your web form, right? And say, bring it over and say in the subject line the guy's phone number or phone, or you can use any of the components in here, and this is going to show up on your subject form, right? So in your email it says, to you, this is the subject, right? Now I usually just leave it default from contact, or you know what it is, but then I don't want it to be defaulted from my address. I want it to be defaulted from their address, right? And so because it's give us your email and yours might just say email, that's the one I want to know what email address this came from. And down here I want it to default to the company name, right? Because, or maybe not, maybe you want it to be from their primary contact name. So this will give you how you're getting that email over, all right? You can also email replies, right? And I'm going to do a default to their email address. All right, so it's a default template. We have it all there. We're going to say include files as attachments at the bottom. That's again, if they're adding an image, we want it to come over as an attachment, not embedded into the email. So I'm going to save these email settings. And then I'm going to go to this last one over here, which says form settings. And this is where you're going to get that note, right? So after, it doesn't matter if you don't want to put anything in here, that's fine. They'll get a little standard green bar that says your submission's been accepted. But if you want to give them more information, or if you want to direct them to a different page after they've done that, we can do that here as well. So you can type in your confirmation message. You can, again, it's a full editing bar. You can put images in here. You can put more links. So why would you do that? You might do that by saying, hey, now that you've submitted that, go take a look at this or that, right, on our site. And this is where, like any of your other content, you can just go ahead and say, link them over to this, right? So, or if you wanted to create another page, a custom page that they only get to once they've submitted that information. So maybe you said, hey, find out something spectacular by filling out this form, and so they have to fill out that form to get to that page to begin with, you can then put in that custom URL you've created. And if you have a question on this, I've never seen anyone do it, it's kind of a cool idea, just call me and we'll go over to it. All right. So here it's saying how many submissions. So if this was something, and let's say you were running a contest or I don't know, something that you only want them to submit the information once, you can say, right, unlimited or limit to 5 submissions, 2 submissions. You can say they can only submit their thing every hour, every day, every week. And this is more set up for people that are like maybe having a contest, right? And you can submit something to be in the drawing every week, once a minute. You get the idea. And then you can say per user submission, right? So you can say this user can only do this ever once, right? Or they can only contact you once an hour. It just gives you some, let me change this over, gives you some choices on what to do. You can close this. So let's say that you did what you needed to do. Now you don't want to delete it, right? It was a one-time thing, or it was something that was only between certain dates. You can then go in when you're done and you can hit closed. And that way no one else can submit on that. But you don't want to get rid of that, because if you get rid of it altogether, all the history of who submitted is gone as well, right? So we're going to leave this open. And it asks you who can submit to these, because you know Drupal is all role and permission based. So authenticated and anonymous on this can. Why would you need to submit to your own web form? I don't know, but you can say you can submit as well. So authenticated users are users who already have accounts on your website, right? They've already purchased something. They have a physical registration username. Anonymous are those people who just stumbled onto your website and they have nothing, right? They have no way to tag it back. You can show them a progress bar, right? So there's a lot you can do to say how they're going to see the information. I would just leave these as default, but you can play around with them at another time. So we're going to go ahead and hit Save Confirmation. I'm not going to save this because I don't want things changed on what I've done. All right, so let's go back in, and now you have a valid web form. But if this was a new piece of content and you don't have it anywhere, right? I have it, it's my contact page. But if I want a new piece of content and I wrote it because it was something special, right? At the very bottom, when you hit edit, you're going to let it know right here, provide a menu link. And if you don't provide a menu link, right, then it's not going to show up anywhere, right? It's something that maybe you'll do something on Facebook and give them a hidden URL. But providing a menu link is important. You tell it what the link title is, and it will typically fill in the title of your piece of content, but maybe that title's too long and you want it to just be shortened up. You can give a description if you want to, and then you can tell it which menu, right? Footer menu, main menu. If you have a company menu, you can tell it where it gets to show up, right? So I think we got it, guys. I think we got it down. All right, where can you find what the submissions are? Under your content, you have a little place at the bottom that says Web Forms. Now, at this point, we have 2 web forms on the site, right? And it will show you every web form that you've ever created, and it will show you the submissions. You can edit it. I haven't opened this website up to the public yet, so when I click submissions, I don't think I'm going to see anything. Nope. But when you click submissions on yours, it's going to give you a list of everyone that's ever given you a submission. And a lot of them will say anonymous because they aren't logged into their website. But from this spot here, it'll show you when it was submitted, what the user is, IP address, and you can go in and view their submissions. So even if you're out and your cell phone's down or whatever, and you go, man, I think I got someone that emailed me, you can go back in here and view those submissions one at a time. All right? All right. Any questions on this? Give me a holler. You guys have my number. But web forms are cool, and you can do a lot on your website to get information from your customers. All right. Thanks so much.